We kick things off with Blackburn Rovers, who found last season no doubt a struggle. They survived relegation on the final day thanks to a 2-0 victory over Leicester, the title winners of course. John Dale Thomason was dismissed in February and John Eustace came in to keep Blackburn afloat. Sammy Smodic was of course the league's top scorer, absolutely blistering with 27 goals, but in truth, Rovers' squad was rather lacking. Now, on the departures front, John Fleck has left the club to join Rangers, while Carl McFadzean has also been released and let go. Youngsters Sam Barnes, Lenny Chirino, Jay Haddow and Ethan Walker have also been released at the end of their contracts. Now, Blackburn have generated fees from the sales of Leopold Wildstedt to AGF Aarhus in Denmark and Samir Talalovic to SSV Ulm in the German second tier. Goalkeeper Wildstedt made 21 championship appearances for Blackburn last season, conceding 36 goals, while Talalovic featured 17 times in the league, but most of these were fleeting appearances from the bench. Now, Sammy Smodic has had the season of his life, of course, last campaign. He's the bright spark being coveted, most notably by Ipswich Town at the moment. There does seem to be a massive difference in valuation as Blackburn are holding out for 15 to 20 million. Smodic scored 35 goals in all competitions. You just can't replace that, of course. But it is the only season that he's done this in. So it's interesting whether Blackburn will want to move him on or hold on to him. They obviously want a big fee, understandably. But as the window draws on, there'll be more pressure to build for Smodic to move. On the incoming side, well, transfer business can certainly be described as slow for Blackburn Rovers. Apart from Aidan Doherty, a signing for the under-21s for an undisclosed fee from Linfield, and Jack Barrett, who's a young goalkeeper from Everton on a one-year deal, not really a lot to talk about. Of course, I'm recording this at the end of July, so fully expect that to change. Plenty of time for things to happen. There's rumours circulating at the moment about Mukhtar Gay, who plays his football with RWD Molenbeek in Belgium. He's a 26-year-old who scored 11 goals in 35 games last season, but a complete unknown to English football, and a number of other smaller rumours, but we wait and see what Blackburn are going to do in this transfer window. Many people are worried about Blackburn for the upcoming season. Lots of hopes depending on the whereabouts of Smodic come the end of this transfer window. Even if Smodic stays, can he replicate last season's form, as he really was the only reason Rovers stayed in the Championship? Now, John Eustace is a very good manager, and Birmingham suffered last season following his sacking from St Andrews, but their business in the transfer market has been very quiet indeed from Blackburn. The sale of Adam Wharton last term and no apparent reinvestment of the fee. They've got an existing court case involving the owners. Blackburn fans are growing restless, and a few early bad results is only going to add to that frustration. Blackburn open up their Championship season at Ewood Park for the fourth successive season as they welcome newly promoted Derby County, before a trip across East Anglia to face Norwich City and their new manager Johannes Hoff-Thorup. A second promoted team in Oxford United will then visit Ewood on the 24th of August before Burnley and Bristol City round off Blackburn's first 5 games. With John Eustace in charge from the start of the season, Rovers fans will be keen for a fast start with concerns of looking over their shoulder at relegation again. Bristol City look towards their new season off an 11th place finish, which was their best finish in the Championship for 6 seasons. Their defence in particular, with only 51 goals conceded, was their best in 10 years in the Championship and the 4th best in the division last season. Departure-wise, Bristol City saw Andreas Weimann released after 215 appearances for the Robins, with the Austrian scoring 51 goals in 6 seasons, as well as Matty James at 33, who topped 100 appearances as well. Now, at the expiry of their contracts, a number of younger players have been let go, with Duncan Idahan, Harvey Wiles-Richards and Marley Francois searching for new clubs. Now, on the transfer inside for Bristol City, 22-year-old striker Fali Mayulu has been signed from Austrian side Rapid Vienna. He's a 6'4" physical striker who scored 11 goals in the Austrian Bundesliga last season, including multiple appearances in Europe in the UEFA Conference League. Irish international Sinclair Armstrong also joins the attacking ranks. Fee reported in the region of £3.5 million. Now, Armstrong played 41 times for QPR last season, and while he only returned 4 goals, with 3 of these in the Championship, his pace and power offers a threat. He's a strong scoring record at youth international level, and Bristol City will be looking to unlock more of that with him next season. And Bristol City also dipped towards the loan market with a Japanese winger, Yu Hirakawa, who's been impressing in the Japanese J-League with Mashida Zavia. He was a monthly MVP, which is effectively their player of the month back in April. And of course, it'll be interesting to see how he translates to the English League. But he does play for the Japan under-23s with rumours of Japan full international cap not too far away. Now, on season chances for Bristol City, well, they recognise it's a decade since their promotion to the Championship, and last season's rise to the top half of the table does give renewed hope for the Robins. Liam Manning will be wanting his team to further develop his high-pressing style with his first full season in charge after the November move from Oxford United last season. Now, the bookies suspect there'll be more bottom half anywhere near than the promotion chase, but I suspect last season they were saying similar. Bristol City have a solid spine of players, and much may depend how quickly their new attackers can add their firepower in hitting the net. Bristol City's first match season away at Hull in a match that ended 1-1 last season before entertaining Millwall at Ashton Gate on the 17th of August. Coventry City are up third in a match that Bristol City won 1-0 last season before two away ties against newly promoted Derby County and Blackburn at the end of the first five. The Robins won 6 away matches last term, so will be looking to improve that total and get a secure finish this time around in the Championship. Now, Burnley were unable to consolidate themselves in the Premier League following their Championship title-winning season before. Now, Vincent Kompany's style of football just didn't really take to the Premier League. Many player changes, that didn't take as well, and Burnley were relegated back to the Championship with just 24 points. On the departure front, there's been a mass exodus of goalkeepers so far, has been the story of the summer for Burnley. Bailey Peacock Farrell and Lawrence Figueroa went for undisclosed fees to Birmingham and Swansea, respectively. Originette Muric, who came in towards the end of last season into the team and was obviously Burnley's number one last time they were in the Championship, moves to Ipswich for a fee reported of around £8 million. Elsewhere at 35, midfielder Jack Cork has left the club after his contract expiry after 7 years and 210 appearances for the Clarets. Left-back Charlie Taylor has rejected a new contract offer, opting to sign a 2-year deal with Premier League-bound Southampton, while Johan Berg Gudmundsson was to leave, and that was reversed after Scott Parker was announced as head coach, and Gudmundsson will remain at Burnley this season. The biggest change, of course, was not the power. It was, of course, Kompany off to Bayern Munich and Scott Parker coming in as head coach. Now, Parker does have previous form in getting out the Championship, finishing runners-up with Bournemouth in 2021-22 and winning the playoffs with Fulham in 2019-20. But Burnley currently still possess a very large squad, which has been further added in both fullback positions. Sharandi Sambo has signed from PSV Eindhoven after 11 appearances in the Dutch Eredivisie, and at 22, he is a pacey attacking right-back, which is mirrored in the signing on the other side of the Brazilian Lucas Pires. For a fee of just under £2 million, he joins from Santos after a loan deal with Cadiz in La Liga last season, where he played 28 times for the Mineiros. With Muric going to Ipswich, Burnley have actually picked up Vaclav Hladky on a free transfer, with the Czech Republic international and ever-present goalkeeper for Ipswich in their Championship promotion last season. Up front, Burnley have spent £3.4 million on Andreas Hutonji from Cayenne in France, a 22-year-old Benin international who scored 14 goals in 34 League 2 matches for Rodez in France, and we're hoping to see this strengthen their front line. Additionally, Burnley were already committed to fees for defender Maxi Mestev and winger Mike Trezor following their loan deals last season. 2022-23 was undoubtedly Burnley's season in the Championship, but things are not looking the same this time around. There's a few question marks around Parker's appointment, and there are a lot of Kompany-style players that are still in the squad. Now, how quickly can Burnley hit the ground running is the question. Parker plays an extremely different kind of football to Kompany and is a very different head coach in general. A lot of new faces plus returning loanees need to be bedded back in the squad. Seeing many predictions forming of Burnley straight back up or struggling with the weight of the pressure. So let me know in the comments what you think about Burnley's chances. No doubt Burnley have some very challenging away games right off the bat and will need to come out swinging. Fellow relegated Luton enhanced their reputation, of course, under Rob Edwards in the Premier League and were markedly better than the Clarets, and they've kept a lot of their team together so far as well. Trips to Sunderland and Leeds United could also prove challenging for Burnley, but home matches against Cardiff City and Blackburn, the Turf Moor crowd will expect they should be dominating those games and get wins and start to put some points on the board. Cardiff City last season had a secure 12th place finish after 2 seasons of relegation battles that came before. Stability was forming under Errol Balut, who became the first manager to last a whole season at Cardiff since Neil Warnock in 2018-19. Conceding goals was Cardiff's issue last season as they shipped 70, with only Rotherham, Huddersfield and Blackburn conceding more. Now, transfer departures, Senegalese international Famara Diédhiou has returned to parent club Granada on loan, as did regular starters in the second part of last season, Carlin Grant, Josh Bowler, Nat Phillips and Josh Wilson-Esperand. Contract expiry saw a number of players moving on as well, including most notably Shea Ojo and Romain Sawyers. Additionally, undisclosed fees were secured for midfield pair Cameron Antwi and Abu Adams, with Antwi heading to League Two with Newport County and Adams remaining in the Championship with Derby County. With Cardiff's transfer embargo finally ending in January, the Bluebirds can once again move to strengthen their squad, and with that boost, Bellew has signed a new 2-year contract as Cardiff manager in June after his 1-year deal expired. Chris Willock was signed on a free from Queen's Park Rangers on a 3-year deal, and Willock played 144 times for QPR in all, scoring 20 goals. He can play either wing, and although he was utilised more on the right side last season, he can play left too in his 39 Championship appearances, which did produce 4 goals and 4 assists for QPR. Well, Cardiff have also made an addition to the defence. Callum Chambers has left Aston Villa for first team football, offering them the option to play him centre back and right back. He struggled to break into Unai Emery's high flying Villa last season, but has many seasons of regular Premier League experience with Villa and Arsenal, and at 29 still has quite a lot to offer. The manager has certainly seen improvement under Cardiff, but they did ship a lot of goals last season, which will need to be addressed. There's hope of more stability, but giving the ball away last season was a weakness that was exploited by many teams. The transfer window is still open until the 30th of August, so expects many more transfer deals to move for Cardiff and other clubs, but Bellew has made people open their eyes to Cardiff in progression, again after a few difficult seasons. The Bluebirds will be wanting more improvement and not a step back. Now, Cardiff open up their season at home against Sunderland, who defeated them 2-0 in the same fixture in March, followed by a tough away match against newly relegated Burnley, although early season might be the best time to meet them with their new manager in place as well. Then they're live on Sky Sports on match day 3. Rival Swansea City will host the much anticipated South Wales derby, with each team winning the derby 2-0 at home last season. It's an early chance for bragging rights between Cardiff and Swansea. Coventry City's sensational FA Cup run to the semi-final last season undoubtedly affected their league form as they ultimately dropped out of the playoff positions. The adjustment to the loss of Gus Eimer and Victor Gyökeres transitioned well, with Ellis Sims and Ben Sheaf in particular impressing, as Coventry ended up overall with a 9th place finish. On the departure front, Callum O'Hare has left the club on the expiry of his contract, with the attacking midfielder joining Sheffield United for the new season. O'Hare moves on after 142 appearances and 21 goals for the Sky Blues. Also on the release list are midfielder Liam Kelly, who's joined Rotherham, and goalkeeper Simon Moore, who moves north-east to Sunderland. Experienced striker Matt Godden also says goodbye after 156 games and 50 goals. He was part of their League One winning title team of 2019-20, and Godden now returns to League One with Charlton Athletic to bid their promotion bid. Jack Rudoni joins the ranks in midfield with O'Hare's departure, signing a 4-year deal on a fee expected to be around £5 million from Huddersfield Town after their relegation. At 23 and with 2 championship seasons behind him for Huddersfield, Coventry fans are excited to see what he's going to bring to their midfield as he takes the number 5 shirt. Now, Coventry have also turned the loan deal of centre-back Louis Binks into a permanent deal, agreeing a fee with his parent club Bologna in Italy. Binks was confirmed in June alongside young Dutch winger Rafael Borges Rodriguez, who has been playing his football out in Australia, with 35 appearances last season for Macarthur FC. With Simon Moore moving on, a goalkeeping position in the squad was open, and Mark Robbins has opted for 22-year-old Oliver Dovin, who with 2 international caps for Sweden has been playing his football in their top division for Hammarby, and at 22, an interesting one for the future. Additionally, Coventry add winger Ephron Mason-Clark to their squad, having signed him in February and loaning him straight back to Peterborough United. His 19 goals in 56 games added to an additional 14 assists make him an exciting proposition to add to the Championship. Mark Robbins, of course, continues in charge and is the longest-serving manager in the Championship. Coventry fans will see real hope of promotion and expect to be fighting around those playoff spots and possibly even beyond. They may have to fend off some bids for some of their more impressive performers last season, Ben Sheaf in particular, but the squad looks to have a good balance, and they'll also rely on new additions hitting the ground well. A new young goalkeeper can take time to bed in as well for Coventry, so an interesting season ahead, I'm sure. A trip to Stoke is how Coventry begin their 24-25 Championship attack. This is followed by a Friday night fixture welcoming new boys Oxford United to their first away game in the Championship. Last season, the Sky Blues only won one of their first 8 league fixtures. They'll be keen to turn that around this year, with Bristol City, Norwich and Watford rounding off their first 5 matches. Derby County secured their return to the Championship with second spot and automatic promotion with a club record 92 points in League One. It's an excellent second half of the campaign, which saw 14 wins out of the last 19 matches, and Derby's strong away record was massive as they won 13 away league matches last season. Now, Derby's departures so far has come from their release list, as well as a couple of retirees, as Bradley Johnson and Scott Loach hung up their boots. Conor Hourihane joins Barnsley after 2 seasons with the Rams, while midfielder Louis Sibley moves to newly promoted Oxford United after 173 appearances in all competitions for Derby County. Goalkeeper Joe Wildsmith has been snapped up by West Brom, and Corey Smith will turn his loan at League One Cambridge United permanent. Dwight Gale made fleeting appearances for Derby last season, but after 3 goals in 6 games, he also departs, as does forward Martin Waghorn after his 7 goals in League One last campaign for Derby. Additions so far have been focused more on midfield and attacking positions. Ben Osborne of Sheffield United, Kenzo Goodmin of AZ Alkmaar, and Abu Adams of Cardiff City are all predominantly central midfielders. Adams is reported to have signed for just short of £1 million, and Goodmin, I think I'm pronouncing that right, for around $750k. Adams, of course, was on loan with Derby last season, while Goodmin has Europa League conference experience and at 22 years old, plenty of time to develop. Ben Osborne adds experience, as his 5 years with Sheffield United, he was part of 2 promotion-winning campaigns for them, as well as 6 further years with Nottingham Forest in the second tier. Corey Blackett-Taylor is another who has turned his loan move into a permanent deal, as the winger played 12 times for Derby last season. Caden Jackson has been picked up from Ipswich promotion season. He also has plenty of EFL experience under his belt to add to the squad. And Jerry Yates joins on loan after scoring 9 for Swansea City last season. He reached double figures for Blackpool the year before. As well as another loan addition, young 19-year-old Spanish-born David Ozo from Crystal Palace, who has England under 18 caps to his name. Last time we saw Derby County in the Championship, they had a huge point deduction for their financial troubles and were a club on the brink. Under David Clowes, though, stability has been gained and they will be keen not to work outside of their means, but certainly have good reason to feel positive. Championship experience and know-how exists within the squad. Some exciting additions give hope. This will be a real test for Paul Warne. He's tasted Championship relegation 3 times with Rotherham in the past and will be keen to avoid that with Derby this season. Derby make their return to the Championship at Ewood Park to take on John Eustace's Blackburn Rovers on the opening Friday of the new season, before Middlesbrough are welcomed to Championship football back at Pride Park. Watford, Bristol City and Cardiff City all then await for Derby, who will be keen to put points on the board early. The atmosphere will be fever pitch with 3 games at home in their first 5, and Derby will be ready to go. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Hull City had a progressive season last year. They turned around their leaky defence from the season before and almost made it into a playoff spot. Just 3 losses in their final 16 Championship games. Pretty impressive. The Tigers had a strong squad and they've snuck into the playoff. Who knows what chaos they could have caused if they got there in the knockout games. But over the summer, a massive departure has already happened at Hull, with manager Liam Rosenior surprisingly removed at the end of the season despite their league finish. Now, Hull owner Akun Akali stated the decision was down to a difference in football philosophy, but shocked a number of fans after their strong league showing. But it does show that Akali is clear in what he wants, obviously. Jayden Philogene has also returned to Aston Villa on the player front a year after leaving them for Hull, while star centre-back Jacob Greaves has been picked up by Premier League new boys Ipswich Town as well, with Hull expecting to recoup around £30 million total in from these deals. Ozan Tufan returns to Turkey, while Ryan Alsop is off to Birmingham City, as well as Matt Ingram to Oxford and Jason Lakilo to CSKA Sofia. So the new manager is Tim Walter, who signed a 3-year deal with the Tigers, having managed Hamburger SV in the German Bundesliga 2 for the past 3 seasons before his exit in February this year. His front-footed attacking football has drawn Akali to the top of his shortlist, and his expansive attacking football will be a completely change from Rosenior's possession-based style. Hull have moved quickly to bring in left-back Ryan Giles, who was on loan from Luton Town for the second half of last season. They triggered a clause in the loan deal as Giles became the first addition and will be expected to line up in August as first-team left-back. Full-back was clearly the first thing on the list for Tim Walter, as Cody Dramat, a right-back from Leeds United, has been signed for an undisclosed fee as well. 22 he spent last season on loan at relegated Birmingham and the year before in Luton Town's playoff season, so he certainly experienced both ends of the Championship. Now, at the time of recording this, Hull have cleared the decks and thinned the squads, receiving some high-value fees along the way. There's some big departures, though, with Philogene, Greaves and Tufan all massive parts of last season's team. So how are they going to finish? Well, the odds no doubt reflect this, as with a new manager and some new additions, it makes Hull a bit of an unknown quantity. They still have some tremendous capable players in the squad and some finances to spend, showing that a promotion push through the playoffs again has to be the aim. But fans will be more concerned at the moment of a drop-off, I think. Time will tell with Tim Walter, but expect more business from Hull before the window closes for sure. A home fixture on opening weekend sees Hull entertain Bristol City, and it was, of course, a 1-1 draw last season, before the long trip down to Home Park and Plymouth, getting that away journey out the way. So Hull will want to start strong. Interested in how they're going to go. Let me know in the comments what you think about Hull City and their chances this season. For Leeds United, only the 3 promoted teams scored more than them last season, and only Leicester City who conceded fewer. But Ipswich Town were the surprise package. They earned the second place, and the promotion that many had predicted was for Leeds or Southampton. Daniel Farke's side missed out by 6 points in the end, and then felt the heartbreak in the player final with defeat to Southampton. It's a big summer of change for Leeds United. On the departures, it was anticipated keeping hold of the teenage star Archie Gray was going to be unlikely, but Leeds at least have managed to generate a strong financial return to boost their own summer signings. Tottenham have paid £40 million for the youngster. His 52 appearances in all competition last season impressed many, and it'll be interesting to see how he develops in the Premier League with Spurs. Fees were also received for Mark Rocker, Christopher Claesen, Charlie Cresswell, Diogo Llorente and Glenn Kamara, while a number of out-of-contract players have moved on, such as Luke Ayling, who had been at the club obviously since 2016, has gone to Middlesbrough, as well as Robin Koch, Jamie Shackleton and Ian Poveda, to name a few. On the incoming side, Welsh centre-back Joe Rodon has signed permanently from Spurs for around £10 million, with the hope that the 26-year-old will form an important partnership of the heart of the defence with Pascal Struijk, who has now recovered from a groin injury which kept him out for the second half of last season. 44 international caps for Wales, as well as 50 matches last season for Leeds. Rodon will be an expected key part of the core team. Jayden Bogle looks set to slot straight in at right back as well, following his transfer from Sheffield United. His 4 seasons with the Blades returned over 100 appearances, which did include 2 stints in their Premier League relegation campaigns. Central midfielder Joe Rothwell joins on loan from AFC Bournemouth. He was actually on the bench against Leeds at Wembley for Southampton in the final, but he's seen as a ball-carrying option and offers another potential in midfield for Farke. Leeds have also re-signed goalkeeper Alex Cairns, who was a youth academy prospect years ago, remained at the club between 2011 and 2015. He's now 31 and impressed for Salford in League 2 last season, making 46 appearances and keeping 8 clean sheets in the league. Likely going to be a backup to Meslier, but alongside Cardalo provides squad options in goal. Now, the bookmakers have named Leeds as their clear favourites to win the division. Daniel Farke will be under tremendous pressure to deliver, having just missed out last season, hitting 90 points last season with Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton all up. Now, the fans will be expectant of promotion in May. Current rumours of Somerville and Nonto bids circling will impact hopes, though. If they do go, how could those potential fees be reinvested? Somerville was one of the best players in the Championship last year, no doubt. Leeds are still a major scalp for a lot of teams as well. The quality is undoubtedly there. Can they maintain the consistency this time to get over the line and get back up to the Premier League? Leeds face Championship returnees Portsmouth on the opening weekend in their first competitive match together since 2011-12 season. In fact, Portsmouth's last win at Ellen Road came in the 2002-03 Premier League season. Difficult away games at West Bromwich Albion and Sheffield Wednesday follow before 2 sides with new managers in Hull City and Burnley take the trip to Leeds, wrapping up their first 5 matches. Now, Luton Town certainly became the neutrals' favourites in the Premier League last season. Despite being written off well before the season started, they fought hard and entertained. It was not enough to stave off relegation in the end. They did finish above Burnley and Sheffield United in 18th, as all promoted sides from the previous season returned to the Championship. Luton have managed to keep a lot of their squad together so far from the Premier League relegation. Ryan Giles has turned his loan at Hull City to a permanent transfer, while Ross Barkley, who had an excellent season with Luton, has moved to Aston Villa to remain in the top flight. They've also seen Gabriel Osho decide to move at the end of his contract, favouring a move to France and AJ Auger, while long-time Luton player Luke Berry, who has been with the Hatters since their League 2 days, leaves for Charlton after 184 appearances for the club. So far, just a couple of signings have been made by Luton. They first moved for Brentford central midfielder Shandon Baptiste, who's featured in the last 3 Premier League seasons for the Bees. A 3-year contract for the 26-year-old who had seen his Brentford contract expire, said he was impressed by Luton last season and is keen to be a part of it. A new right-back will also come to Kenilworth Road in Royal Waters, and 19-year-old England youth international has signed from Arsenal. Having come through an impressive Arsenal academy, Walters is yet to make a first-team appearance, although has a few EFL Trophy appearances for Arsenal under-21s. Elsewhere, it's been quiet from Luton since about mid-July. Much speculation around existing players rather than new purchases, as the squad obviously put themselves in the shop window for their performances in the Premier League last season. So season chances-wise, well, Luton so far retaining a lot of that squad that fought so valiantly in the Premier League for Rob Edwards gives them hope. Up front, Carlton Morris and Adebayo should be more than strong enough for the Championship if they remain. Morris, of course, had a sensational season the year before they went up too. Rob Edwards knows the league well, and his stock has risen further since he was last in the Championship with Luton, and of course that short reign with Watford back into 2022. With the relegated teams coming back down, you have to say Luton are probably looking in the best shape and most likely, but they will need to keep as much of this team together as they can. Burnley visit Kenilworth Road for a Monday night clash first up, in what was of course a Premier League fixture last season. This is followed by a trip to the Peas of Portsmouth and Preston North End in the first 3 weeks for Luton. QPR then become Luton's second home game of the season in a fixture the Hatters won 3-1 in the 22-23 season, with a trip to the Cauldron of the Den to round off their first 5 matches when they return to the Championship. Middlesbrough under Michael Carrick in the 2023-24 season finished in 8th place, just 4 points off the Championship playoffs in their 7th successive Championship season. Their EFL semi-final cup run was the highlight. They even took a first-leg league, of course, over Chelsea before the second leg went a little bit different. Emmanuel Latte-Lath was their goal-scoring dynamo, scoring 16 in the Championship and 18 overall. Contract expiries have seen a number of players leave the club as Paddy McNair heads to America and new MLS franchise San Diego. Goalkeeper Liam Roberts joins Millwall and Jamie Jones heads to Salford City. Youngsters Jeremy Sivvy and Joe Gibson have also been let go from Middlesbrough. Borough have been able to recoup fees for periphery squad members as well, such as Hayden Coulson, who moves to Blackpool, and Bryant Belongo, who heads to Bristol Rovers. They've loaned out Samuel Silvera, who heads to Portsmouth, and Zach Hemming to Leyton Orient, both for the season duration. Now, incoming Delano Bergzorg, who is known to the Championship with his season for Huddersfield last time around, playing 33 times and scoring 7 goals for the Terriers despite their relegation. At 25, he offers a wide option and signs a 4-year deal, moving from his parent club Mainz in the Bundesliga. US international Aidan Morris looks to strengthen the midfield as he moves from Columbus Crew with strong midfield statistics over there that he hopes to translate to the English game. 22, he signed for around $3 million reported and agrees a 4-year deal for a midfielder who in 2020 he became the youngest ever starter in an MLS Cup final. Right back Luke Ayling has been at Leeds for 8 seasons before a loan deal with Middlesbrough last season that they've turned permanent. 19 league appearances was enough to convince Michael Carrick this was the right way to go in bringing Ayling again, particularly as he contributed with 8 assists last year. Middlesbrough have been flirting with the playoffs and promotion in the last 2 seasons, but haven't quite hit that consistency. Strengthening the defence in the midfield in front of them should ensure they concede a lot less goals than 62 this time around. If they can keep hold of Latte-Lath and hit the same scoring form at the end of last season, Borough are a good shout to be right up there. Proving players such as Ray Vandenberg and Finn Azaz give Borough huge hopes that they're going somewhere under Michael Carrick. Middlesbrough have won their last 4 fixtures between themselves and Swansea, so with an unbeaten record against them in the last 6, they'll feel extremely positive ahead of their opening Championship clash of the season. Newly promoted Derby and Portsmouth await in their first 5 games, as well as trips to Cardiff and home match to entertain Preston North End at the Riverside. Can Carrick and Borough get the strong starts of the season that they're looking for? Millwall had managerial turbulence last season with Gary Rowett sacking in October, Joe Edwards only lasting between November and February as Millwall struggled in the league last season. They were hovering dangerously above the relegation positions. So they turned to their club legend who not only steered them away from relegation, but 5 wins in their last 5 games of the Lions roar up to 13th place under new manager Harris. Now, before going into the transfers, of course, I have to sadly mention the tragic passing of Millwall goalkeeper Matija Sarkic at just 26 in June. The club have paid his respects by retiring the number 20 shirt in his honour, sending all respect and condolences to his loved ones and everyone involved with Millwall Football Club. On the transfer side, young Alex Mitchell has generated a fee from Charlton Athletic, albeit an undisclosed one, and Kamal Grant returns to Bromley on loan following their promotion to League Two. Polish goalkeeper Bartosz Bukowski has been released, while a spectacular U-turn saw captain Sean Hutchinson, who had announced that he would be leaving the club in May, sign a new Millwall contract to remain in the squad. Now, by ways of incomings, Millwall have gone to prolific lower league striker Macaulay Langstaff, who's excelled at both League Two and National League level in recent years. Waits to be seen at Championship level, but 28 goals in League Two for Notts County, a year after 42 in the National League for them, is a great total, which Millwall hope will translate up the leagues. Lucas Jensen is a Danish goalkeeper also making the step up the leagues. All 6'7" of him joining from Lincoln City. He had the best save percentage in that league last season. 25, he's been playing English football since 2022 with loan deals at Carlisle and Accrington while he was on Burnley's books. He made an impressive 19 clean sheets in 45 League One matches last season and only conceded 39 at less than a goal a game. At centre-back, Jeffet Tanganga returns after a successful loan deal last season, joining permanently from Tottenham Hotspur to marshal the defence. His 18 appearances came after 50 for Tottenham as he looks to establish himself at Millwall. Liam Roberts has also been added to the side from Middlesbrough, as Millwall sadly has to invest obviously in goalkeeper positions following the unexpected death of Sarkic. So what are their season chances? Well, after Neil Harris came in and stabilised Millwall's season, the question is where can they go and kick on from here? Last summer, of course, they had the sad passing of the owner and chairman John Berylson, and the season gone representing the first time in 5 seasons that Millwall have finished in the bottom half. Just 45 goals scored was a huge problem. Even relegated Birmingham and Huddersfield scored more than Millwall. It does put big pressure on Langstaff's shoulders, but Millwall themselves need to create more, as defensively they didn't give away a lot with only conceding 55 goals. Millwall opened their season in a home match against Tom Cleverley's Watford team. The fixture ended 1-0 to Millwall at the end of last season, and Watford haven't scored on their last 3 visits to the Den. Double away fixtures then see Neil Harris's team travel to Bristol and Hull before subsequent home games against Sheffield Wednesday and Luton Town. Last season, Millwall were 12th after 5th games, which was a good barometer for how their season turned out in the end. Wonder whether it will be the same this time around. Norwich City's form picked up towards the end of last season was enough to claim them a final playoff spot with 6th position. Unfortunately for the Canaries, it just wasn't enough to overcome Leeds in the playoffs. They lost 4-0 in the semi-final second leg. David Wagner was removed from his managerial position just 1 day later after 15 months in charge of the club. Now, transfer to parties. At the end of their contracts, both Ben Gibson and Sam McCullum remained in the Championship, but not with Norwich, as Gibson moved to Stoke and McCullum moves to Sheffield United. Goalkeeper John McCracken signs for Dundee, having had a number of loan moves, and centre-back Danny Bath is looking for a new club after just 1 season at Carrow Road. An undisclosed fee has been received by Fortuna Dusseldorf for winger Christoph Solis, although Dusseldorf have sold him straight on to Club Brugge in Belgium. On the incoming side, of course, new head coach Johannes Hoff-Thorup is the big in. He's been appointed on a 3-year contract. He's an unknown to English football, but he has been in charge of FC Norderland in the Norwegian top division. At 35, he becomes the second youngest head coach in the Championship after Tom Cleverley at Watford. Signings have been slow so far, despite the promise of new investment, as Thorup analyses what he has in the current squad. Their first signing is a centre-back from Panama in Jose Cordoba, a 23-year-old Panama international who has signed from Levski Sofia in Bulgaria. He's expected to fit into a defensive trio, with Thorup liking to play a 4-3-3 that evolves into a 3-2-5. Be interesting how he implements that with Norwich. And Norwich have been rumoured to bring in Callum Doyle on loan from Manchester City as a left-sided option, but not confirmed yet. While Adam Eder is also holding out for a higher fee. He's been at Celtic. They don't look like they're in a rush to sell at Norwich, and if he goes, this may be reinvested as a late attacking option for the squad, so one to keep an eye on. Now, their season chances, Norwich's home record was important to their eventual playoff position last season. The bookies have them there or thereabouts with the playoffs once again this season. There's fresh investment coming into the club under Marco Tanzio, and he increased his stake to over 40% in April in terms of ownership. As Norwich look to build a path towards their future, fans are feeling optimistic that the club is starting to head in the right direction again. The Canaries open up their campaign away at Championship new boys Oxford United as Norwich look to replicate last season's start, where they won 3 of their first 4 matches, scoring 13 goals in the process. Blackburn and Sheffield United both then make the trip to Carrow Road before away trips appear on the horizon against Coventry and Swansea City. Oxford United secured a return to the second tier of English football for the first time in a quarter of a century. Liam Manning had led Oxford to a strong start before the managerial role at Bristol City became available. So Des Buckingham took over in November and led Oxford to a fifth place finish. Player final success was secured with 2 Josh Murphy goals defeating Bolton at Wembley to secure Oxford's promotion. Josh Murphy, though, won't be joining Oxford for the new season as he has signed a deal with fellow promoted Portsmouth. Billy Bodin, with over 100 appearances for Oxford, also moves on. He goes to Burton Albion, while right midfielder James Henry is looking for a new club, bringing to an end 7 seasons and over 250 appearances. Marcus Brown and Steve Seddon have also left Oxford at the expiry of their contracts, and under-21 international Assign Smith has been sold for an undisclosed fee north of the border to St Mirren. With the rise to a new division, Oxford have moved to improve their championship experience with the new additions they've got in so far. Midfielder Will Vaulks has bundles of experience at this level. He's played for Rotherham, Cardiff City and Sheffield Wednesday. We played 34 league games for last season. At 30, he joins for free at the expiry of his contract with Sheffield Wednesday. Goalkeeper Matt Ingram, at 30 years of age, is another with plenty of experience at QPR and Hull City at this level. Des Buckingham has moved to bring him into Oxford's side for an undisclosed fee, as James Bede was moved back to Sheffield Wednesday following his loan deal ending with Oxford. Ingram will compete with Jamie Cumming and Simon Eastwood in the goalkeeping department. Louis Sibley is an adaptable midfielder who has been a key part of Derby County's team for the past 4.5 seasons. At 22, he carries youth international caps for England and he adds energy to the team. Jack Curry is another player to be added, another young player at 22, as the left-back steps up from AFC Wimbledon in League 2. Now, Primislaw Placheta shared last season between Swansea and Norwich, but the left winger will join the Oxford squad, and Idris El Mazouni from Ipswich signs for around £400,000. Oxford are unsurprisingly amongst the bookies' favourite to go straight back down to League One, but having been the surprise package in their promotion at Wembley in May, no doubt they are good at being underdogs. But considering the budget and the manager, many of their playing squad experiencing the Championship for the first time, you can see why people are going down this route. They'll likely be the neutrals' favourite and have made Championship experience a priority in the transfers to give them their best chance. It's going to be tough. They'll have to stick together through the difficult patches of results in the season to give themselves at least a chance of staying up. Now, Oxford United will make their championship bout against Norwich City and their new manager before trips up the country to away matches at Coventry and Blackburn. Des Buckingham's side will then host 2 fixtures at the Kassam Stadium against Preston North End and Stoke City to take them into mid-September. Plymouth Argyle returned to the Championship in the 23-24 season under Steven Schumacher, and their goal was survival. Schumacher, though, was recruited by Stoke mid-season and left, which saw Ian Foster take charge. He left in April after a poor run of 1 win from 10 matches saw the end of his time. Neil Dewsnip stepped in as caretaker manager, and it was 3 wins from the final 6 games that saved Plymouth, beating Hull on the final day to keep them in the Championship. And looking ahead to this season, transfer to parties, Ireland under-23 international Tariq Wright has left the club to join Bradford City. We spent most of the second half of last season on loan. He appeared 15 times for the Bantams, and he also had a loan deal with them the season before. He moves for an undisclosed fee and a 2-year deal. Notable movers at the end of their contract are wide midfielder Mikael Miller. He moves to Huddersfield after 49 Plymouth appearances, as well as goalkeeper Callum Burton to Wrexham, left-back Jack Endicott and Oscar Halls, who are both still looking for a new club. So in the incomings, of course, new manager Wayne Rooney. He's clearly the biggest in at Plymouth so far as he returns to the Championship after that short, unsuccessful stint at Birmingham City last season. Rooney, of course, has been out in the US managing DC United in the MLS after his time with Derby County. He certainly brings fanfare to Plymouth, but will it be a risk that pays off? We will see. Ibrahim Sissoko is a player that Plymouth have brought in that's exciting Plymouth fans. The Dutch winger has joined on a season-long loan from French Ligue 1 side Toulouse and looks a pacey and direct player. Loans have also been agreed for midfielder Darko Gyabi from Leeds and Mohamed Tiana from Slavia Prague. Swansea City left-back Nathaniel Ogbeta spent last season on loan at Bolton Wanderers, and Plymouth have signed him, believing he can make the step up as the 23-year-old joins them ahead of the new season. Then we have Victor Poulsen, an Icelandic centre-back joining from the Belgian Pro League with KAS Eupen. At 33, he brings European experience and 44 Icelandic caps. He's a player that is well known to Rooney with their time together at DC United. He's had over 400 appearances in all, and he's definitely a career journeyman, but the Championship will be a new league for him. Now, Plymouth defied the odds last season staying up, and it's a young squad under the management of Wayne Rooney this time around. They're second favourites for the drop ahead of Oxford United, with the bookmakers seeing Rooney's Plymouth as having a difficult season. The time of recording, they look to be holding on to Morgan Whittaker, but we'll see, which would be a huge bonus. And you feel with Rooney getting a full pre-season, this will be his real last shot at a Championship level job to prove himself. Ryan Hardy and Michael Cooper were just as important for Argyle last season, and they'll be needed to stay this time around and perform if Plymouth are to stay up. Now, the Argyle have won their last 2 opening day fixtures, but they face a tough away challenge at Danny Roll's Sheffield Wednesday. And Rooney will make his home park managerial debut at home to another team under new management in Hull City. It's then an away trip to Loftus Road to face QPR before home matches against Stoke and Sunderland, which are sandwiched in between the international break. So Portsmouth finally got out of League One at the 7th attempt, finishing with 97 points and losing only 5 games all season. It lined up with head coach John Messina as his first managerial appointment at Pompey 18 months ago, and it now sees him try his hand at Pompey's chances in the Championship. With the change of division, Portsmouth have already let a large number of players go at the expiry of their contracts. Matt Macey, Joe Rafferty, Sean Raggett, Lee Evans, they've all found new clubs, with many more on their release list still looking for clubs as well. With Jacob Farrell coming in, Jack Sparks has been allowed to leave for an undisclosed fee to League One to Peterborough United. He was a regular starter last season, and Sparks had only signed from Exeter last summer. But Pompey are keen on Farrell, and Sparks will get the chance to shine again at League One level. Now, coming in and entering a higher level, Portsmouth have felt compelled, of course, to strengthen again. As already mentioned, Jacob Farrell is a young left-back who signed from Australian side Central Coast Mariners on a 4-year deal, with many quite high on his prospects. Winger Josh Murphy, who was Oxford United's playoff hero in May, also joins Pompey on a free. An experienced Championship player with Cardiff, Preston and Norwich in the past. While 24-year-old right-back Jordan Williams has made the switch from Barnsley with his contract expiring with the Tykes. Now, Sam Silvera has Championship experience at Middlesbrough and he's agreed a season-long loan with Pompey. Silvera has made 37 league appearances last season and also broke into the Australian national team. Now, at 23, he could add some exciting flair to Portsmouth. Additionally, 31-year-old Jordan Archer has joined the goalkeeping ranks from QPR and he will likely be a backup for Will Norris. Now, the season chances, Portsmouth on paper look to have the best case out of the 3 promoted sides to finish the highest in the Championship, but it doesn't always, of course, work that way. A strong League One title victory, as well as an exciting squad that looks suited to the new division. The odds look to echo this, as they were outsiders for both relegation and promotion, looking towards potentially a mid-table finish. While Mousinho is undoubtedly inexperienced compared to his Championship manager counterparts, he looks to be a strong leader and is versatile in his approach. He could be the crown jewel in Pompey's success. It's a very tasty first game for Portsmouth as they face a hard introduction back to the Championship, taking on pre-season favourites Leeds United at Elland Road. Things don't then get much easier. Premier League last season, Luton Town are welcome to Fratton Park for their first home game in the second tier in 12 years. North East, Middlesbrough and Sunderland then lay on the horizon before home match against Carlos Corberan's West Bromwich Albion, completing their first 5 league fixtures. Preston North End started last season like an absolute train, winning 6 out of their first 7 matches, but they tailed off when they started taking on challenges from towards the top end of the Championship. But 44 points from the remaining 39 games saw them drop further down the league, making a good position return, but probably a bit of a confusing one for Preston fans to analyse overall. In terms of departures over the summer, Alan Brown brings a curtain to 10 years as a Preston player, 414 appearances, 46 goals in all competitions. The Irish international rejected a 3-year deal in the summer to make a move to join Sunderland, which will be strange for Preston fans to see Brown wearing another team's colours. Centre-back Greg Cunningham and attacking midfielder Ben Woodburn both make their moves away from Preston following the end of their contracts. Cunningham will go back to Ireland with Galway United and Woodburn heads to Salford City in League Two. Lewis Lee is another one in making a move permanently as he heads to Bromley for an undisclosed fee. Now, transfer incoming to date, Preston have been pretty quiet. It's a single permanent transfer so far, signing Icelandic midfielder Stefan Teuter Horarsson, I think. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly. He's come from the Danish Superliga team Silkeborg with over 100 appearances for the Danish club. He's also an Icelandic international with 21 international caps since 2020. Described as a box-to-box midfielder with a powerful ping on him as well, so watch out for that one next season. They've also brought in the energetic Sam Greenwood from Leeds United on a season-long loan, with the 22-year-old loaned out last season as well to Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough. He played 34 championship games in all for Borough and scored 5 goals. Greenwood predominantly played on the left flank for Borough, but he can also play right wing, attacking midfield and up front if required. So, season chances. Last season was the sublime and the not so sublime, probably best to describe Preston. So, it'll be interesting how they perform without a blistering start. Can they remain more consistent this season, or can lightning strike twice and they be up there again? They have a good spine of a team, but eyes are still on what further additions that they may make. Creativity is probably one of their biggest concerns. To put them into a mid-table position is likely where expectations lie. Deep down, we'll see Preston host Sheffield United, who are returning to the Championship, of course, after their relegation. It's the first time since the opening match of the 2021-2022 season that Preston enter a season at home. But Preston are without a win in the first match of a league season since they defeated QPR in 2018-19. Swansea, Luton, Oxford and Middlesbrough then round off their first 5 games as they look for a strong start like they had last season. Queen's Park Rangers had a nightmare first part of the Championship season last campaign, losing 10 out of their first 14 games, which resulted in the sacking of Gareth Ainsworth. Now, the appointment of Martí Fuentes saw the season swing in a big way as he took QPR away from the relegation zone and up to 18th position. Over the summer, there's of course been some departures. Irish international Sinclair Armstrong leaves QPR for Bristol City for a fee reported in the region of around £3.5 million, as Armstrong played 41 times for QPR and only returned 4 goals. It's a good fee, opening up a space in the squad for another attacker. Contracts expired for Jordan Archer going to Portsmouth and Asmir Begovic, who is still looking for a new club. Stephen Duke McKenna joins Harrogate, while wingers Chris Willock and Albert Adama join Cardiff and Walsall respectively. So incoming Zan Silar comes in to bolster the attack. He's a Slovenian forward from Lugano in Switzerland, having just played in Euro 2024 for the Slovenian national team, also playing against England in that last 16 match. With 51 goals in 116 games in all competition, he has a good scoring record in the Swiss League, but can he replicate it in the Championship in front of goal for QPR? In between the posts, QPR have replaced Asmir Begovic with a signing from the Belgian Pro League. 30-year-old goalkeeper Paul Nardi, who also has Ligue 1 experience in France, prior with 2 years to Ghent. In his last 2 seasons in Belgium, though, he's conceded at just over a goal a game with a save percentage of just under 74%. So I'll be hoping that he'll be great between the sticks. Bayern Munich to QPR, not a usual transfer route, but Scottish under-21 international Liam Morrison, who had been on loan last season with Wigan Athletic, has made that move. Morrison played 35 times for the Lactics, and QPR believe he can step up to Championship level. While another defender has been added in Brazilian Everton Santos, joining from Estrela in the Portuguese Liga, as Santos has come up through the Sporting Lisbon Academy. He's a right back with over 80 career appearances in the leagues in Portugal. QPR are in a much more positive space after the back end of last season, and they believe in manager Martí Fuentes. They'll be hoping to stay clear of the relegation zones this time around. A new striker to the league in Zan Silar will be key to hitting the ground running. You'll need the same at the other end from Paul Nardi, no doubt, but the bookies seem to suggest a mid-table position is possible and more of a stable season for QPR. Now, Rangers open their 2023-24 campaign at home to West Bromwich Albion as Fuentes takes on Carlos Corberán. Last season, it was an exciting 2-2 draw at Loftus Road with a missed penalty involved as well. They then travel to relegated Sheffield United before hosting Plymouth a week later. Trips to Luton Town and Sheffield Wednesday then await QPR as their Championship season will begin to take shape. Sheffield United were relegated back to the Championship with the 3rd worst points total with just 16 points last season. Their 104 goals conceded was the worst in Premier League history. Paul Heckingbottom was removed as manager in December, and in truth the squad was not good enough to compete in the top tier. Now, moving on to transfer departures, a new season, hope for Sheffield United. A host of their previous players have left at the expiry of their contracts. George Baldock, Wes Fotheringham, Max Lowe, Ben Osborne, Daniel Jebison and Ollie McBurney all finding new clubs, with Jordan Amissa, Chris Basham, John Egan and Oliver Norwood departed but still searching for a new shirt. Forward Cameron Archer has moved back to Aston Villa for a fee of around £15 million, where his original deal had a buyback clause. Right back Jayden Bogle has also generated a fee, moving to Leeds United as striker Benny Traore heads to Switzerland with FC Basel. Now, first business of the transfer window for the Blades was to recruit two new fullbacks, which sees Jamie Shackleton, who to be fair can also offer a midfield option as well, joining from Leeds. Shackleton has spent 5 years at Elland Road with a loan move to Millwall 2 seasons ago. 23-year-old left-back Sam McCullum also joins the Blades, having been a regular starter for Norwich last season. Most recently, Harrison Burrows from Peterborough United has agreed terms, following significant interest from other clubs. He was named League One Player of the Season for his performances as left-back and was the Peterborough captain, including both goals scored in the EFL Trophy final. He has played in the Championship before for Peterborough 3 seasons ago and again makes the step up for Sheffield United. Callum O'Hare has joined the Blades midfield. We'll meet up again with old friend Gus Hamer as they did at Coventry City. O'Hare has signed a 4-year contract, having left Coventry at the expiry of his contract there. 142 appearances in all for the Sky Blues. O'Hare is now 26 and will be expected to add energy to the Sheffield United midfield. 6'5" Kiefer Moore joins as a striker option, having spent half of last season on loan with promoted Ipswich Town from Bournemouth. Offering a physical option up front, Moore is well versed to the Championship over the years, including years with Cardiff and Wigan as well. Now, their season chances, how are Sheffield United going to react back in the Championship? The bookies see them as the most likely to struggle out of the relegated 3. Current odds of 9-2 for promotion suggest it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but everybody seems a bit unsure how the Blades will take going back down. Manager Chris Wilder has experience in the second tier and success in the past, but recent efforts at Middlesbrough and Watford were less successful. They will need to adapt with a team that become accustomed to losing on a weekly basis last season. Sheffield United returned to the Championship with an away fixture against Preston North End on the first weekend as the Blades look for their first opening day win since the 2017-18 season when they defeated Brentford 1-0. QPR are then the visitors to Bramall Lane as Sheffield United alternate home and away ties, travelling to East Anglia to face Norwich, back home against Watford and away at Hull City to complete their first 5 league fixtures. So, Sheffield Wednesday, only Rotherham lost more than Sheffield Wednesday last season, but Danny Roll really turned things around after his appointment in October. 4 wins and 2 draws in their last 6 games were enough for Wednesday to survive by 3 points. It's a tremendous result for them as they looked well gone early on in the season. At this window, Sheffield Wednesday have released a number of players, with only Will Vaulks remaining in the Championship, moving to Oxford United. Rotherham have taken the pair of goalkeeper Cameron Dawson and left-back Reece James, while striker Lee Gregory leaves for Mansfield Town after 100 appearances and 29 goals for the Owls. Tyreek Backinson heads to League One level as well, with Wycombe Wanderers, Kieran Brennan to Newport County League 2, and George Byers at Port Vale as well. Right back Juan Delgado heads back to Chile, moving to Everton Delvina Del Mar. Now, on the transfer incoming front, Sheffield Wednesday have been busy early on as Danny Roll adjusts the squad to his liking. Right back Jan Valery, playing in France, was formerly of Southampton, of course. He's signed an undisclosed fee, while on the other side, left back Max Lowe makes the switch across the city from Sheffield United. Ben Hamer, the experienced English goalkeeper, has put pen to paper from Watford as Sheffield Wednesday become the 13th club in his career, while young goalkeeper James Beadle once again signs on loan as he did in the second half of last season, impressing at Hillsborough and as well for the England under-20s. In midfield, Roll brings in Nathaniel Chalobah of West Brom, a midfield anchor with 33 league appearances for the Baggies last season, as well as a Swedish midfielder in Svante Ingelsson, who's been playing for Hansa Rostock in the German second tier, presumably well known to Roll and his staff, of course, with a German background. Attacking-wise, a Polish winger in Olaf Kabacki signs from Arka Gdańsk, I want to say, in Poland after a youth career at Atalanta and Lech Poznan. He's predominantly a left winger, scoring 16 goals in 37 matches last season in the Polish second division. Forward Charlie McNeil also joins from Manchester United after a short loan move at Stevenage last season. Now, season chances, head coach Danny Roll has impressed everyone with his impact at Sheffield Wednesday. Many thought it would be tough to keep hold of him, but he signed a 3-year contract which bodes well for the development of this Sheffield Wednesday squad. A full pre-season and a more optimistic squad that played well in the second half of the Championship, and the future looks completely different to 12 months ago when many had the Owls favourites to go back down. They are now a side that many will be wary of facing. Now, Hillsborough opened Sheffield Wednesday's season for the third opening year in a row as they face Plymouth Argyle for Wayne Rooney's first game in charge. Up north, they then go to take on Sunderland before a home match with Leeds United, who are of course just defeated in the playoff final. Then they're away at Millwall and QPR as Sheffield Wednesday will be hoping their season starts faster than last time around. Stoke City finished in 17th place in the Championship after flirting for parts of the season with the relegation zone. Ultimately, 3 wins in their final 3 games secured their Championship status. After signing 18 players last summer, the team just didn't gel as anticipated. Alex Neil was dismissed in December, with Stephen Schumacher appointed after impressing with Plymouth. After a huge number of signings last season, Stoke cleared the decks with a number of releases in the summer. Tyrese Campbell, Kieran Clark, Tom Edwards, Blondinder Nuke, Sonny Singh, Tom Sparrow, Wesley and DiMaggio Wright-Phillips all left at the expiry of their contracts. Multiple younger players have also moved on in a further bid to trim the squad, with Welsh defender Matt Baker joining Newport County and David Okakbu moving to Walsall. So Stoke have made some signings as Schumacher looks to shape his new squad. Swedish goalkeeper Victor Johansson has come in from Rotherham on a 3-year deal. Twice Player of the Year for Rotherham, he certainly faced his fair share of shots with Rotherham's leaky defence last season. But he made over 4 saves per 90 and that was the best in the division for saves per 90. Ben Gibson adds experience to the defence, joining from Norwich, while Eric Bocat is one Stoke have had their eye on for a while, playing in the Belgian Pro League with St Truiden. A French left-back who signed a 4-year deal with them. Schumacher attempted to sign him in January, but funds were proving difficult. Gibson was a regular for Norwich last season, 35 Championship appearances for him. He also has Premier League experience under his belt with the Canaries, as well as experience with Burnley and Middlesbrough. Squad-wise, the local buzz is around 17-year-old midfielder Sol Sidibe, who made 8 appearances last season and has been selected in the England under-18 squad. He may be the one that forces his way into Schumacher's plans. So after 5 successive bottom half finishes, season chances will progress into the top half would be seen as good progress, but still looks challenging. Schumacher gets a full pre-season with the team, and Jonathan Walters, coming in as sporting director, is hoping to bring more positive times back to Stoke. The Potters finished last season strong with only 1 loss in their final 8 matches and will be hoping for similar form early on to give them hope of a promising campaign. Stoke will welcome Coventry to the Bet365 on the 10th of August, a match that Potters lost in February 1-0 thanks to a second half Ellis Sims finish. In fact, Stoke's first 4 opponents stopped a Stoke victory in their corresponding fixture last season. Plymouth, of course, sees the return of Stephen Schumacher to home park after beating the former side 3-0 in April at the Bet365 Stadium in one of the Potters' most convincing wins of the season. Stoke fans will obviously be hoping for more of that this time around and beyond. Last season for Sunderland was managerially chaotic, probably the best way to describe. Tony Mowbray was dismissed with Sunderland sat in 9th place in the Championship. The appointment of Michael Beale did not bring success on the pitch as he only lasted 12 games, including getting in arguments with fans. And this season we'll come on to the head coach in a moment, but they've made, of course, a number of departures at the squad. The release list included midfield pair Bradley Dack and Corey Evans. With that, the club decided not to enact their optional 1-year extension after his 17 appearances in total last season. While Evans had 2 seasons as a key part of the team, but he only played 3 times last year. They both look for new clubs. 26-year-old goalkeeper Alex Bass has moved to Notts County on an undisclosed fee after being AFC Wimbledon's number 1 on loan last season in League 2. While Nathan Bishop, another of Sunderland's goalkeepers, has moved on a season-long loan to League One side Wycombe Wanderers. Now, new head coach Regis Labrie has been appointed ahead of the new season after a long searching process by the Sunderland board. Labrie managed for 2 seasons with FC Lorient in France and offers possession-based attacking approach. The fans are hoping this translates into effective but exciting football. Sunderland moved player-wise to sign Simon Moore on the expiry of his Coventry City contract on the first day of the window, an experienced 34-year-old goalkeeper who hasn't played for the Sky Blues since July 2023, but expected to be back up to Anthony Patterson. Next in saw Alan Brown of Preston North End, of course, an Irish international who's racked up 400 appearances for Preston over a decade at the club. Centre midfielder will add bags of experience as some younger talents coming through Sunderland's squad in that midfield. Winger Ian Poveda joins on a 3-year deal from Leeds, having made 10 appearances for Sheffield Wednesday last season. He also had a loan deal at Blackpool and Blackburn, so he does have championship experience, as well as a couple of Colombian international caps to add to the Stadium of Light. Now, Labrie could be seen as a risk considering how last season went for him at Lorient, but he does seem to be a fairly forward-thinking coach with a good reputation. He's an intelligent man and seems adaptable as well. The players are going to be keen for results. Patience may well be required for a long-term successful outcome here, though. As to where Sunderland could finish this season, well, the squad has some very good players and some very exciting young talents, with many fans believing that they underachieved last season. If it clicks, there's potential for much happier times coming Sunderland's way. Sunderland are off to South Wales for their opening fixture of the new championship season before home fixtures to a Sheffield Wednesday team who are resurgent under Danny Rowell, of course, returning to the championship Burnley as well, who are now managed by Scott Parker. Then it's the other end of the country for trips to Portsmouth after the international break. They then go all the way down to Plymouth. Last season, Sunderland lost their first 2 games but won 4 of their next 5. A good start will be key to build their optimism and really build everybody in for that long-term process. A season of rebuilding and transition for Swansea City last time around, with mixed results through the season, it's fair to be said. Michael Duff lasted until December, with Luke Williams appointed as his replacement. Their 14th place finish was a drop from 10th the season before, as Swansea struggled to replace the goals of Joel Pirard left for Leeds. Departures over the summer see centre-back Nathan Wood joining back up with Russell Martin at Southampton for a 4-year deal. Reported £3.5 million fee is a healthy addition to the financial pot, however. Jerry Yates' 9 goals last season made him the club's top goal scorer alongside Jamal Lowe, but Yates will spend the 24-25 season with newly promoted Derby County on loan. Elsewhere, contracts were allowed to expire for midfielder Liam Walsh, winger Premysław Placheta, with youngsters Lincoln McFadden, Nathaniel Ogbeta and Archie Matthews all allowed to leave. So on the incoming side, an exciting signing for Swansea looks to be 22-year-old South Korean Eun Ji-sung. He's creative with movement, agility and speed to his game, as well as having a finish or two in his locker, it seems. The left-sided attacker has a single international goal to his name as well in a single appearance for South Korea. He has never stepped, however, out of the Korean K-League, so he will need to adapt. Goncalo Franco is a 23-year-old Portuguese midfielder with under-20 Portugal international caps to his name. He joins from Moreirense in Portugal's top division, making 129 appearances for them before his 4-year deal signed with Swansea for an undisclosed fee. Chilean goalkeeper Lawrence Vigouroux failed to make any appearances for Burnley after signing from Leyton Orient last summer, with Carl Rushworth returning from his impressive loan last season. Well, it's something Swansea were keen to get him back. Williams, speaking in April, acknowledged that it would be difficult to bring him back, so it looks unlikely. Youth may be key for Swansea, with Sam Parker, Josh Thomas and Azim Abdullah all been tipped to step up. Now, head coach Williams, of course, worked under Russell Martin, so he was part of the style of football that Swansea enjoyed a few seasons ago. Matt Grimes has always been key to this as a deep-line playmaker, and fans will be hoping the new talent can add to existing quality players such as Harry Darling and Ollie Cooper to rise them further up the league. The odds see Swansea more likely to be closer to the bottom than the top, but the expectancy is around the mid-table position for Luke Williams' Swans. A trip to the north-east and Middlesbrough awaits Swansea on the opening day, with the Swans losing twice to Michael Carrick's team last time around. Preston, however, were defeated 2-1 at the Swansea.com Stadium with the Jamie Patterson double, and they are Swansea's first home game of the season in match 2. Sticking out clearly from the 5 games is the trip to Cardiff, of course, the much-anticipated South Wales derby, one already well marked in both clubs' calendars before a trip to West Brom and a home match against Norwich City round out the first 5 for Swansea. Watford drew a whopping 17 games last season, with only Huddersfield drawing more with 18. Again, a managerial change for Watford, their 14th in 14 seasons, with Tom Cleverley taking over from Valerian Ismail, who had a poor run of form after Christmas, with Cleverley eventually securing the Hornets a 15th place finish. Now, departure-wise, Canadian international Ismail Kone has moved away from Vicarage Road for a fee reported north of £10 million. It's a blow to Watford losing Kone to Olympique Marseille, but a decent value has at least been recovered. Just as worrying for Watford fans are rumours and interest of both Wesley Hoyt and Yasser Asprilla from other clubs. That may well have progress further when this video comes out, I don't know. Numerous players were released at the end of last season, including forward Ashley Fletcher, who leaves for Blackpool, and Ben Hamer as the 36-year-old goalkeeper heads to Sheffield Wednesday. Additionally, Jake Livermore, who made 34 appearances in the Watford midfield last season, is looking for a new club. Now, incomings, Moussa Sissoko is back following a few years in France with Nîmes. He returns at 34 years old. So what impact that has had on his pace remains to be seen. He previously, of course, played in the Premier League for Watford with 36 appearances in the 2021-22 season. An 18-year-old striker from Mali was confirmed on day one of the window, having been announced back in February, with Mamadou Doumbia, who already has a Mali cap to his name, an emphatic goal-scoring record with the Mali under-17s, 8 in 9 games. But not much is known about him apart from he comes from Mali club side at Black Stars. An interesting signing for Watford comes via the loan market as Antonio Itikvic looks a promising left-sided prospect. He's a Croatian under-21 international who last season was included in the Bayern Munich pre-season squad, playing a couple of pre-season games for them. He joins for the season from Udinese. Irish under-21 international Rocco Varta arrives from Celtic on a compensation deal. He's an attacking midfielder, signing a 4-year deal with the Hornets. Another returnee, Jonathan Bond, he enters through the front door, having spent a few years in MLS with LA Galaxy, with former tenures at West Brom, Peterborough, Gillingham and Reading, since his original stint with Watford. Now, season chances for Watford, it could be challenging. It could be a challenging first season for Tom Cleverley. Potential rocky shores ahead. Where are the goals going to come from? And a lot of the squad is currently showing more questions than answers. Last season was their worst finish since the 2009-10 season, and there does seem to be a lot of trepidation about the new campaign. However, players such as Tom Dele-Bashiru bring hope, as does England under-20s Ryan Andrews. He could be one to watch this season. Now, Watford kick off the season away at Millwall, playing at the Den, which is a venue they failed to score at in their last 3 visits. Home ties then follow as Stoke City and Derby County come to Vicarage Road. There's hopes of some early points for Cleverley's team there. Then it's Sheffield United and finally Coventry City after the international break for the first 5 league games of Watford's season. So West Brom secured a 5th place finish in the Championship last season with a takeover from the Pinnacle of Football WBA led by Shalen Patel in February. The Baggies had their 3rd best defensive record in the Championship last term, but were defeated in the playoff semi-final by eventual winners Southampton, as Carlos Corberán saw them to a reasonably good season. And the Baggies have seen some end-of-contract releases as part of their end-of-season retained list confirmations, with Nathaniel Chalobah moving to Sheffield Wednesday and youngster Jamie Andrews to Woking. Jan M'Vila only signed in February, but he leaves the club as well, alongside right-back Martin Kelly, defender Eric Peters and midfielder Adam Reach, while long-term servant Matt Phillips finally says goodbye to West Brom after over 250 appearances in 8 seasons for the Baggies. Now, in the transfer market coming in, West Brom have moved to bring in a new defensive midfielder, turning to the Austrian Bundesliga and TSV Hartberg to bring in Ousmane Dikati, I believe, on a 2-year deal. He is a former Mali under-20 international and now at 24 gets the chance to grace the English game at the Hawthorns. The biggest fee paid so far by West Brom is £500,000 for a Norwegian centre-back, Torbjorn Hegem, a 25-year-old playing his football in Sweden for IF Brommapojkarna, and he will take the number 2 shirt for Corberán's team. Hegem is versatile and gives good options to that Baggies backline. Now, Joe Wildsmith was the number 1 goalkeeper for Derby's promotion to the Championship. After 2 seasons with Derby, he is now a West Brom player. No one conceded less than Derby, and Wildsmith had the 2nd best save percentage in the division behind Lucas Jensen. Experience also comes in by the way of Paddy McNair, at 29 left Middlesbrough for an MLS adventure with San Diego, but he will join West Brom on the end of the year on loan until the MLS returns, as it's currently going to be on hiatus. McNair has played 60 times for Northern Ireland and totaled over 200 appearances for Middlesbrough in 6 seasons with them. So season chances for West Brom with the Shalen Patel takeover all completed now. Carlos Corberán comfortably one of the best managers in the division. West Brom will fancy at least playoffs again this time around. The odds with the bookies seem to back this with 9-2 for promotion, suggesting at least a playoff shot. There's a lot of solid players in the West Brom squad and they're strong in midfield. Defensively making some improvements too. It could be an interesting season for West Brom. For the fourth straight season, West Brom open their season away from the Hawthorns as they travel to Loftus Road to face QPR before pre-season championship favourites Leeds United are in town. The Baggies alternate home and away ties with Stoke City, away before Swansea at home, before they take the trip south after the international break to take on newly promoted Portsmouth to kick off their first 5 games this season. If EFL football is your thing, and indeed National League football, check out the Absolute Football podcast, Monday, Wednesdays and Thursdays. On Thursday, it is our absolutely lower league show covering EFL and National League. Check the YouTube channel out now with EFL and National League previews. That's the Absolute Football podcast.